Hey, what's up guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Lion Zeal show. In this episode, I'm sitting down with Joe Troyer to talk about pay-per-lead, specifically how you can make money from selling leads to local businesses. But before we get into it, I've got a quick message from my sponsor and we'll get back to it. So this episode is sponsored by me. Here's the deal. On the 25th of January, I'm officially launching Scientific Rankings Monthly for the first time ever. This is a private monthly training and a community that I'm putting together to bring you new SEO training every single month, including live Q&A sessions from myself and from popular guests from the Lion Zeal show. As a quick sneak peek, here's some of the stuff that we'll be covering throughout this training. We're kicking off month 1 with my full on-site SEO training series. Then in the other months, we'll be seeing Matt Diggity's ranking process, how Dan Ray builds white hat links for his 50k plus per month consulting business, how Steiners makes over 10k per month from foreign SEO, and a whole lot more. So make sure that you get on the waiting list at scientificrankings.com/monthly, and I'll see you on January the 25th. Alright, so what we're going to get into in this episode is pay-per-lead SEO. So generating leads for your SEO that you sell to local businesses. And we're really going to break down a step-by-step process from knowing absolutely nothing whatsoever about PPL to having a website that generates leads that you can sell to local businesses, and how to actually go out there and how to sell them from contacting their businesses. And we really cover pretty much everything you could possibly ask, where it's like, how do you price your leads and which industries are the best to cover? We cover absolutely all of that within this interview. So let's just cut straight into it and access all this information and really just learn from someone that's a master at PPL stuff. Let's cut into it. Hope you enjoy the episode. Alright, what's up, man? Thanks for joining me on the show today.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me. I'm excited to hang out.
Yeah, for sure. So do you want to start with a little intro for anyone that isn't quite sure who you are or not that familiar with you?
Yeah. I'm Joe Troyer from Digital Triggers. So I've been doing this stuff, man, since 2008, 2009.
Okay.
Got into web development, web design. I knew that I wanted to be doing something online. I just didn't know how to get there, right? So web design was an easy in, web development. Started taking like classes online for it, and was about 8 months in and was like, I need to see if I can actually make some money with this before I spend any more time on it. Dropped out of college to pursue that. Wow. And in 2 months I had sold like $12,000 or $13,000 in web design and development contracts, and was like, okay, now I need to actually figure out how the hell to do this.
That's a pretty good start.
Yeah, so it was a good proof of concept for me. I'm pretty good face to face. I can sell stuff, so I needed to see if I was going to be able to do something with it, or if I had just wasted 8 or 9 months of my life.
Yeah.
So fast forward, then did web development, web design for a couple of years, and realized that I wanted to be in the marketing side of it. So started shifting into that side, and we opened up a traditional agency. I moved to South Florida, where I'm at now, West Palm Beach, and had a lot of mom and pop businesses, a lot of big e-com businesses too. Some of my claims to fame, so to speak, ranked a client number 1 for watches, ranked a client number 2 for fat loss. Obviously pretty competitive.
That's awesome.
Worked with some big e-com companies, some of like the top Inc. or top 500 e-commerce stores. Every year Inc. puts out like that book of the top 500.
Yeah.
So realized though that SEO was becoming more and more competitive, and started really pushing local because of how easy it was, and frankly I could get paid about the same amount of money if I was good in how I structured my deals.
Interesting. Okay.
So that's how I got into SEO, so to speak. And now full time, like I spend my time doing doing lead gen primarily on a pay-per-call basis.
Okay, that's really interesting that you went for smaller clients, because most people's fear is that if they get like a local client, that they're only going to make like maybe 500, even 1,000 or so a month, versus like these big like $10,000 a month clients that they like see like you want to get like bigger.
Yeah, I mean, we had some like $20,000 and $30,000 a month clients, and ultimately, the problem is when you lose one of those, the hit is huge.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? If you have one or two of those, and then the rest are smaller companies, and they're paying you 1,000 to 5,000 even a month, you lose one of those big boys, and you're all scaled up in terms of operations in your team. It can be an utter disaster to recover from that.
Yeah. So what sort of size clients
do you
work
lay
with?
off a bunch of people, or do you hang on to them and try to make it fit, and take the hit yourself?
Yeah. So I imagine it's a pretty tough situation. Yeah. So what sort of what sort of size clients are you working with these days?
So we primarily go after home services types of verticals.
Okay, nice.
And traditionally stuff that closes really, really fast. So the job closes pretty quick. So not all emergency stuff, but stuff that's like semi-emergency, right? If your roof's leaking, you're going to get it fixed, right?
Okay.
If you come home and your house is flooded and you have water damage, you need somebody to fix it like right away. So that's a little more emergency, but just stuff that has a really, really fast turnover. So we can show clients very, very quickly, what our ROI is from working with us.
Gotcha. And
I've worked with like attorneys and stuff that have really, really long, like personal injury attorneys, and they could get 300 leads and maybe close one for the year, and they'd be happy.
Yeah.
And the problem is every month they're like, are your leads good? Are your leads good? Are your leads good? And I just hate reselling people over and over again.
Okay, that makes sense. So those ones that took a very long time to really represent the value, even though they make really good money from a single client, whereas these guys, like home services, they make good money and a lot of leads are solid.
And I think the other thing is with home services, you can get through to the decision maker in most times a lot easier.
Okay.
Right. So in the home services space, I close same day deals, like, left and right, almost every single day.
Okay. So the lead comes in and you close it, or
no, I mean, what I mean by that is, let's say like, okay, we're getting incoming calls in Orlando for roofers.
Okay.
I can literally close a roofer in a day or two. Right.
Gotcha.
Compared to, more traditional white collar type of businesses, it's going to take you a day or two just to get a meeting with the decision maker. And then you're going to have to, actually get to getting a check.
Yeah. Okay. So with the pay-per lead stuff, what sort of approach? How exactly does it work?
So I think that a lot of people, I think, in pay-per lead get stuck with the chicken or the egg. Right? It's like, which one do I do first? Do I get the calls coming in first, or do I go sell first? And my experience would be to go sell first, right? Because there's two sides of every business. There's sales and fulfillment, and you got to eat both of them no matter what. Okay, what's going to get you more excited? If you go get a $1,500 check or a $3,000 check, or if you get a client up and it's bringing in some phone calls? Like, there's no parallel. Everybody will say,
I'm with you completely with that. Yeah.
Right. And will you work your ass off, and will you work nonstop until you can deliver for that client? Yes. Right. And what's the worst case that can happen? Like, sorry, I won't bill you anymore until we catch you up on the leads that we promised.
Yeah.
Like, it's not that big of a deal. It's not the end of the world. It's not like they're going to, come after you or something. So I like personally selling the deal first and then doing fulfillment.
Okay. Awesome. So how would you go out there and get that? Like, say someone's like deciding that, okay, I want to do that. How do I get that client that they can sell the leads to?
Just traditional prospecting. We use we use and teach a system that's basically like what startups use, right? So it's a sales stack. So it's a combination of kind of all the tools that you need. So, a lead gen tool, a prospecting or cold email tool, some type of CRM capabilities, and then something for, actually taking payment and getting a signed contract, right?
Okay.
But all those tools, and the phone is what we use.
So the ugly stuff, like just picking up the phone and making some calls and stuff.
Yeah, picking up the phone, cold email, that's it. I mean, simple. The thing is that you have to think about too is that in terms of like conversion rates, it's a lot easier to pick up a pay-per-call client or a lead gen client than it is SEO, because they're being pitched SEO every single day, right? Like we don't have to go in and provide a bunch of value and make ourselves look different because our service is different.
Okay. So how do you angle that when you message them, like initially? So you send them like a cold email. Are you doing the traditional sort of like video audit stuff thing people are doing these days, or how do you angle it? We don't do
any of it. Okay. We don't do any of the video audit stuff or any website audit or pay-per-click audit or any of that stuff, because we don't need to, because we're not selling them SEO. We're not selling them pay-per-click. We're just selling them more calls, right? We're selling them more business. And so that's as close to being in partnership or in bed with them as we can possibly be without owning part of the company.
Yeah.
So our angle is, do you need more business? I have phone calls for this vertical. Do you want some?
Nice. Okay. Simple as it gets.
It's literally that simple.
Yeah.
And I mean, we can sexify that a little bit and make it sound a little bit better, right? But I mean, that's the gist of it.
Okay. What I'm thinking is that some people are going to be asking, like, if you go that route initially and just email them, hey, like, we have some leads. Some people are going to doubt in themselves if they don't have the leads already. Like, if they're taking an approach, which you recommend, I think it's a great approach as well. Just get the clients first.
Yep.
How do you deal with that if you don't actually have any leads yet?
Okay. So I do SEO.
Yeah.
Here's my work experience. I do this type of marketing, whatever it is that, the people do that are listening right now, mostly SEO, I'd assume, because that's what you talk about the most, right? But pay-per-click or whatever the source is, show examples of your work, right? And then say, I'm starting a new venture where I only charge per call, only charge per lead. You don't have to pay me to do your social media and SEO and everything else.
Yeah.
Would that be of interest to you, right? Who's going to say no?
It's a pretty awesome deal.
It's truly a win-win.
Yeah.
I mean, they don't have much risk. The only risk is just how long does it take you to deliver? It's not, will this actually bring me what I want, which is phone calls, which is what they're thinking about in every pitch that they get from a marketer.
Yeah.
So it's one step closer. So you actually deal with a lot less rejection than you would in typical, types of service offerings that most of your people are used to, probably.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's, like you're saying, it's much easier. Like, you're not selling them like £1,000 a month or whatever is the deal. It's just like, here's how many calls you can get, like how much it costs per call.
Yep. So I mean, it's super simple. And frankly, you can be creative in getting calls too, right? Like, so for example, the niches that we target, the average customer values are pretty high. Right. Yeah. So let's say that we're going and selling, for example, since I brought it up, a roofer. We're selling roofing calls for $125 a piece.
Okay.
Right. Like, how can you get roofing calls quickly? Like, be creative. I mean, it doesn't have to be ranking in Google.
Yeah.
Right. Like, we all think so pigeonholed, and like we all just, our heads are straight down and we're running as fast as we can. Yeah. But how can you get some calls quickly? I mean, frankly, you could get 1 to 2 calls a day, no problem, just with Craigslist posting. Like, be creative. Like, and I'm not talking about like spamming the crap out of Craigslist and, running into problems. I'm talking about like, do 3 or 4 posts a day. Like, people that have problems posting to Craigslist, for example, the problem is that they try to do 1,000 posts in a day, right? Like, of course you're going to have trouble, right? But I mean, be creative. It's not that difficult. So a roofer, let's say that we sold them on a $1,500 package and we're selling them leads for even $100. We only need to deliver 15 calls.
Yeah.
I can do that just with Craigslist in half a month, right? Easy, like slacking. So, and then I use that profit to reinvest. And, Google is our primary long-term, vehicle to get, the ROI.
Okay. With you said $125. How, I presume these days you kind of know, for different industries, you kind of know what to aim for, like roofing, you said that exactly 125. How do you figure that out in the first place? Yeah,
so we teach people a process that we have them go through, and it's just a consultative type of sale, right? And so when we're doing our consult with the local business owner, we go through rapport building and getting their backstory and getting them to open up. We ask them about, what other marketing services they've tried, and we dig in there, what's worked, what hasn't worked, so that we can kind of understand their emotions to things before we start going into our pitch.
Yeah.
Right. So then we go into actually getting the numbers. And so it's a consultative sale. We figure out what a call is worth. What's your average customer value? What do you close on the phone in terms of appointments being booked? And then what do you actually close in person, right? And so we figure out for them what a call is actually worth to them. Then it's just about figuring out what they're willing to pay for it.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it is really that simple, but it's so overcomplicated.
It's really that simple. It's really that simple. The thing I tell people when they ask me how much do I charge for this niche is go talk to a business owner. right?
Yeah.
Go have 3 conversations. At the end of the 3 conversations, you're going to know what you should be charging.
Okay.
That's it.
Yeah.
And then I think that one of the things that everybody has a problem with when they're first getting started is transitioning into a pitch, right? How do you go from like a consultative sale or any type of meeting with a prospect to getting into the
I
pitch?
sucked
And
at this at the beginning.
Me too. I think all of us have.
Yeah.
And so with lead gen, it's really easy. We get them to tell us how many jobs would make a difference in your business right now. How many jobs would move the needle for you? And they tell us, and then we're like, okay, so that would be roughly this many calls, right? Yep. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. You want to pay with American Express or Visa? Let's get this thing rolling. And we just like walk them, to the fountain to start drinking. Like we just.
That's awesome.
Super.
Just really soft switch. Yeah.
Yeah. Really soft switch. Assume the close, and why wouldn't you get started? Okay, so let's go ahead and start with that, Mr. Prospect.
Nice.
Just need some quick information from you. We get some information. Okay, great. And then we move for asking for the credit card. And we don't make a big deal about it. It's not like I'm going to send you a proposal. I'm going to send you an outline. Are you interested? Will you buy?
This is all in one call.
Yeah, all in one call. And what happens then is the real objections start coming out.
Yeah.
Right. So if you ask them for money on the spot, the real objections come out. A lot of people do a consult with people and then they send them an outline, they send them a proposal, whatever it is, right? And then they're waiting and they're like, are they going to come on board? Aren't they going to come on board? What's going to happen?
Yeah.
And what's interesting is we track, when we were doing that, we tracked how many people actually opened the proposal and outline. And it was like a quarter, 20, 15%. Really? It's like, so we're thinking that, all these people may come on board, but yet nobody's even looked at the proposal. Like, what's the point? So we switched to doing it all on the phone. And what's great then is you get what the real problems are, right? You get the pushback, and you get to deal with them live and figure it out.
Yeah, instantly. As soon as you ask for the money, they start coming out straight away.
Exactly. So what are the real objections? So.
Yeah. Awesome, man. So you're charging, say, 125. I guess it's obviously going to vary depending on the industry.
Yeah.
When you sell initial package, is it like a fixed number of leads up front, or is it how does that work?
I think for anybody that doesn't have a fulfillment process already in place, hasn't really ever dealt with the niche before, I think that the best way to start is to sell a block of calls.
Okay.
Right, so it's like, they told you 10 leads a month would make a difference. All right, so let's get you started with 10 times the billable amount and go from there. I think that's the easiest. But if you have your fulfillment strategy figured out, you can either go for a really big block, right, if you've already kind of proven it, or in some cases, we know the industries very well, and we actually put people just on a rolling monthly retainer.
Okay, like straight away.
So it's $2,500 a month, and we'll get you between 12 and 15 leads, or 20 and 25 leads.
Okay. Are you supplementing the SEO stuff with other stuff initially to fulfill that straight away?
Yeah, I mean, in industries where we can, there's definitely supplemental things that we can do, like we were talking about earlier, to start generating some inbound calls.
Yeah, just
and the niches that we go after too, we don't have to drive a lot of calls, right? I think that's another key. It's not like I had one of our customers reach out today and say that he was talking, or last night, say that he was talking with a garage door repair company, and they were only willing to pay $20 per call, but the guy was like ready to stroke him a check, and I'm like, I don't think that's a great idea. If you're trying to make $3,000 a month from this guy, how many leads are you going to have to send him?
Yeah.
Like,
exactly.
and you need to start delivering on that like immediately. Like that sounds like a long, painful road. Like I'd skip that one if I were you.
Sure. So
we work in some huge verticals. In the water damage space, for example, we get paid over $400 a call.
Nice. Oh, that's not many calls to like 4K a month, is just 10 calls.
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, it's a big, it's a big money business for sure.
Yeah. Would you recommend then going for industries where you can negotiate like $100 plus a lead, or is there like a minimum you aim for?
I think that the minimum probably people should aim for is probably like $70 a lead.
Okay.
So the thing that's interesting is like the water damage business doesn't have a lot of volume, but it makes up for it because they're very high priced.
Yeah.
Right. But then you have other industries that are pretty high priced, but there's a ton of volume. So like roofing, for example, there's a boatload of volume. We sell for 100 to 125. And there's a lot of volume. Or like HVAC, for example, is even less than roofing. We're getting like 65 to 85 a call, but there's probably double or triple the volume that there is in roofing.
Gotcha. Yeah. So you have to take it all into account.
So I think, you have to take that into consideration.
Yeah. Okay. What are like the three biggest mistakes you see people making when they're doing pay-per-lead stuff?
Three biggest mistakes. I think the biggest mistake is just not getting on the phone. I think the biggest mistake that we all make in an SEO or agency type of business when we're getting started is hiding behind the screen. Oh, I'm only going to send emails, or whatever their method is that they're comfortable with. I think the phone is your friend. The worst thing that somebody can say is no. Don't get me wrong, I still don't like getting on the phone with a cold prospect. Like, it is what it is, but I still get nervous, but that's how you get deals done.
Yeah, I'm with you there. It's so much easier to get stuff done if you just it's terrifying, especially when you start out, but they get stuff done.
I think the other thing is, this sounds kind of cliche, but one of my favorite things to ask on the phone when a call isn't going well, or when I get an objection and I'm not sure how to handle it, is just asking why. Simple. Right? Like, the power of why, like, is so crazy, right? Because you get into their reasoning for why they're saying that, and then you can start to come up with how to get past that objection. So that's two.
Put you on the spot here.
Yeah. Three, I would say, don't go after white collar businesses, go after blue collar. I think anybody getting started, it's so much easier to sell a blue collar deal and one that's a short sales cycle than a white collar long sales cycle type of niche. I stay away from attorneys, doctors, dentists, and I've worked with them all in the past. It's just my own experience, my personal preference. I just don't like it. Between constantly having to resell them, getting through the gatekeeper, and actually getting their time and attention is a lot more difficult. The sales process is longer. And ultimately, this is going to sound horrible, but with a lot of white collar people, they go to school for so long, right? Like dentists and doctors and things like that, lawyers, right? They go to school for so long. By the time that they finally get done, they feel like they deserve to have the position that they do. And a lot of them just aren't business people. Like a lot of dentists, for example, they go to school for so long, they get done, they think that they have the right to just like sit in a chair all day and be a dentist, and they don't want, and they kind of push back the business side. And so that makes it obviously very hard for marketers like us to do business with them.
Yeah, I've had some stories about dealing with, I have a friend that runs like a dental agency and stuff. I've heard some stories.
Yeah, so, and do they have the right? I mean, they went to school for a long time, yeah, but if you don't market your business, ultimately you're going to fail. I mean, so,
yeah.
Do you have the right to be a dentist? Yes, but you still need to market your business, or, these days, you're going to have a lot of trouble.
Okay, I think that's good advice. Like blue collar type clients are, from my experience as well, far easier to deal with. It's so easy to communicate with.
And the speed to a transaction, and I think that's super important for somebody new, so that they don't get discouraged, then they don't just quit. If I can get somebody a deal in a couple of days on a new model, they're excited, they're running with it, they're full speed ahead. If somebody comes in and they're trying to sell something for a couple of weeks, and they're not having any success, they're probably not going to stick with it.
That makes
and I don't
sense.
blame them.
Yeah. So being able to like take on a client, generate some leads for them within like a week, potentially have added like $20,000 to their business, just like that.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah. That's awesome. Okay, so you got out there. They've got some guts. They pick up the phone. They got that first lead gen client coming in. What about the technical stuff? How do they like set up the deal? How do they start tracking things? How's all that work?
Yeah. So the first software product that we ever released as a company at Digital Triggers is a call tracking platform. So when I first got into lead gen in like 2010, end of 2010, beginning of 2011, I kind of stumbled into it. But I was spending basically on track to spend $100,000 a year just on call tracking so that I could prove what I was doing.
It's quite
so and I knew that there had to be a better way, and so we literally tried all these different providers, and ultimately we found Twilio. You familiar with Twilio?
Yeah.
Okay, so we found Twilio in their early stages, and it was great. It was like, okay, so the phone numbers are $1 per month, and it's like a penny a minute. This is fantastic. I was paying like $8 to $10 a phone number, and 6 to 10 cents a minute.
Okay, so
I'm
that's
like,
huge,
holy
yeah.
cow,
Yeah.
this is going to be nuts. So we signed up, and I'm like, dude, I thought this was call tracking. Like, it's just. Have you ever been inside of a Twilio account?
It's complex if you're not a developer.
Yeah, I mean, you have to be a developer, right? It's built for developers to use. They are not a call tracking platform.
Yeah.
So, so I had my developer like stop everything that he was doing, and basically for a month, put together something that we could use internally for call tracking to replace our other call tracking vendor that we were using, and instantly, saved us like $100,000 for the year.
Wow. Oh, that's huge, yeah.
Yeah, so then, friends and customers and stuff like that started asking, hey, can we buy that? Can we buy it? I kept saying, no. Why would I ever, sell you this? This is like my golden goose. Like, I saved so much money with this, and ultimately, we ended up, opening it up to the public. So.
Okay. That's awesome. So it's a system for using Twilio to...
Yeah, so it's a system that sits on top of Twilio. And basically Twilio is the back end, right? But you have to be a developer to use Twilio. So it's the front end, and it's for you to use, but then also your clients to use. So for every customer, we send them a login so they can see the calls that we're sending them. They can have their own reports. And so when they say like, hey man, I saw you just billed me again, like, where's my report?
Just log in.
In the demo and in the onboarding, webinar or presentation we did, we walk you through the call tracking. Remember? Oh yeah, so they can log in and look at all their stuff. And so our reporting every month is like, hey, we sent you this. Here's your login, and we just dinged your credit card for this amount. Like,
it's awesome. Okay, like really easy.
Yeah, we don't have to tell them, this is what we did for you this month, like a traditional, agency type of business. And the cool thing is, this, if you're working with a local company, the first 3-4 months are extremely like front loaded, in terms of your work in Google and everything else. But then after that, your time investment just starts to like go down. That's the great thing with lead gen is once you build the assets and you have the systems going, I mean, you can pretty much walk away from it. And it still just continues to churn.
Yeah. And with a lead gen, is it a brand new site you're setting up? You're not like doing their sites?
Yeah, brand new site.
Yeah. I figured. I know some people are like have questions about this sort of stuff.
Yeah. We do brand new sites. And the reason is we have to own the asset. If they walk away, I'm not going back to zero.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. And I'm not going to pump their brand. And then go compete with myself.
Absolutely. So have you had situations before where someone's canceled, then you just like literally just picked up the phone, called another company, and sold them the leads?
Definitely. Same day.
Awesome. Actually, like rented it out the same day. That's cool.
It was same day. Yeah, for sure. So I mean, like the other thing that you'll start to run into, and one of the reasons that I love lead gen is versus like the rank and rent model. I personally can't stand that model. I'm like 100% against it. And the reason is like the better that we do as a company, the more money I want to make. The rank and rent model is like the opposite, right?
Yeah.
So if I'm sending 30 calls at $125 a piece and $3,000 a month, $4,000 a month versus renting the site for $1,000, like no thanks. Like I'm just not interested. So the better we do, the more money it makes. And so, I mean, all the time, we'll blow away a local business and they can't take any more of the calls,
Yeah,
right? We'll build the assets, we'll get it, humming, and they're like, whoa, dude, slow down. Like, I can take like a third of what you're sending me. And so we'll have to literally, like, on the spot, go find another contractor or two to fill the gap.
Wow. Okay. Do you have that on a few sites? Like, are you do you mean like you're splitting it, where like you sending some calls to one company and the rest to like others? Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So not multiple sites necessarily, but we can with the call tracking platform or with any call tracking platform, there's usually functionality to kind of say where you want the call flow to go. And so we can basically put in rules to say, the first call goes to this guy, the second call to this guy, the third to this guy, or we can do some type of weighting system and put in some caps or some limits to ensure that they don't go over what they've agreed to.
Okay, that's cool. And I presume you don't need a massive amount of traffic. It's like local SEO to generate these leads.
That's the crazy thing about local, right? So, and why I got out of e-com, and we did a bunch of affiliate stuff, SEO affiliate stuff. And the thing is like you're competing with every affiliate out there, every SEO out there. It's competitive, right? Yeah. And when you get into local, like you're competing against a roofer, AC repair company that's paying, somebody to do it for them. You can probably, kick their ass pretty easily because they don't care. It's just one out of their 20 or 30 clients, right?
Yeah.
And then the other thing, like you were saying, is you don't need a whole lot of traffic, right? A lot of our sites convert like 50 to 60% of the traffic to a call.
Nice.
Right? Like that's like an opt-in, like conversion rate.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
A good opt-in conversion rate, but for a phone call, not for a form submit.
Okay. How do you set up the sites then? Is there any tricks to that?
Not so much. I mean, there's tricks obviously for conversions, but ultimately at the end of the day, as long as you're in a more emergency type of business or a more like I need a solution pretty quickly, the conversion rates are going to be really high.
Because they're searching to find a company to call right now.
Exactly. They land there. They're gonna. Is this company reputable? Are they local? Can they help me? Yes, and they're gonna pick up the phone and call.
Okay. So primarily, you generate leads through SEO. What are you saying?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, do you do any like AdWords or anything like that, or is it or Facebook ads, or is it all just like SEO is your thing?
So, the Facebook doesn't really work with the type of businesses that we target.
Gotcha. Okay.
Right. So we're targeting, like not all emergency situations, right? Again, but if you need your AC fixed, if it goes out, are you going to go look on Facebook for somebody to fix your AC? No, it's direct response, right? Like Google is the place for us to do well. I have a really good friend that works with like weight loss clinics and stuff like that, and he does all display with Facebook, right? But it's the difference between display and search. People aren't just looking all the time for weight loss clinics, right? He can show a nice banner and get their attention and drive them in that way. But nobody's gonna go on Facebook and see a roofing ad and be like, yes, I want a free consult.
Yeah, absolutely. That's totally true.
So search is the biggest driver for by far.
Okay. And what about I presume it's different for you because you're running multiple things, but what sort of lifestyle do you have while like managing all these different clients and all the stuff you're doing?
The great thing about the lead gen business, I mean, it's client management no matter what. Every business is going to have client management. A lot of people think like I'm going to get into lead gen and like I don't have to deal with clients anymore. Well, you still have clients. Like you're wrong. The great thing about it is that there's not a reporting meeting and they're questioning what you did for them every month, right? So that's the great part. Will they still ask questions about the calls and should this really be billable or not? Yes, but you're not trying to pitch them what you did for them that month. They already know. It's the phone calls. And the second thing is once we get a site up and ranked, like we don't touch it anymore. When you have a client that you're working with every month, once you're doing a good job and they're getting results, you're basically artificially inflating your reports every month to show them that you're doing stuff in order for them to keep paying you, right?
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, you don't always need to, but yeah, you kind of want to show them that, oh, we haven't sat here and done nothing for the last 6 months. Like, we've done something.
Exactly. So the great thing is we don't have any of that in the lead gen side of the business. So like for 3 months, we push on a campaign and then we're done, right? And the only time that we hit it again is if we fall. And in local, like frankly, like we don't really fall that much. We're competing with roofers and dentists, not a bunch of other affiliates.
Yeah, I'm a fan of local for the exact same reason. There's just so little competition compared to like some of these big affiliate terms.
Yep. So I mean, my team is on the lead gen side is actually pretty small.
Okay.
It's not that big. Obviously, the biggest time suck in the business is still the client facing stuff, because fulfillment is all systematized, and it's a lot easier, I find, to systematize than the client SEO business, because we don't need approval for anything. The process is the same every single time. Like, we go after the same set of verticals every time. So it's not like, oh, what should our title tags be, or what, let's do keyword research again. Like, no, it's all done already.
Yeah. Okay, so what's the FaceTime like with the clients? Like the average client, how much time do you have to spend with them?
Typically, the most time is the first month. And that's just because we do an onboarding call and we set the expectation. And so every agency should be doing that no matter what they're selling, but that's the most. I mean, probably the first month we spend a half an hour with them. I would say, everybody else, maybe it's 10 minutes or 15 minutes a month per client.
Awesome. So for you, it adds up because you're taking on so many clients.
Yeah. And I mean, over time, over time you build up the assets and they just keep working for you and working for you and working for you. So I mean, there'll be times where like my fulfillment team is like, hey man, everything's ranking, like you haven't brought on any new customers, what do you want me to do? And I'm like, money's good, like how about we build a couple more sites to support what we already have. Okay. Right? And so we'll actually compete with ourselves or go after another service area within their service area.
That makes sense. So that actually ties into the next question I was curious about asking, is that, are you worried about, especially when you're relying so heavily on SEO, about like penalties or anything, like if potentially like damaging a lot of your network at some point?
No. I do things a little different. I know a lot of people, especially in the pay per lead or local like affiliate stuff or lead gen stuff, a lot of them build like these huge, massive sites. I don't. Okay. And I don't because I've been slapped just like everybody else, right? Like, and I don't want all of my eggs in one basket. I don't want to wake up one day and go, crap, it's all gone. I'd rather build a little slower and have everything diversified. So let's say we bring in a client, let's say in South Florida here, and they cover, like 3 counties, let's say, for roofing, which is normal because South Florida is like really long. Okay. They count and so they cover like from Miami to West Palm Beach, let's say, and every major city will build a site.
Okay, I follow the same ideology.
If one gets hit, using the same technology, and if one gets hit, it's not at the end of the world.
Yeah.
Right. It's not like our income just went to zero.
Awesome. Okay, are these like EMD style sites or?
We don't. We used to do EMDs. We don't so much anymore. We keep them pretty generic though, still, but they're not EMDs. Okay.
Are there any tricks in the ranking process? Are you guys using PBNs, like citations, like a basic brief overview?
I think that these days, I think that the site build is imperative. I think on-site in terms of local is super important now, way more than it used to be. From geotagging the images to the schema, even building out localized landing pages for the surrounding cities. I think that stuff is all super important, and a lot of SEOs, I think, on a local level skip over it. They're just it's not so important everywhere else, so in local it must not be either. And I personally disagree with that. I think that all those things are very important.
I think you can get in the first few pages a lot of time with just that.
Yep. Yeah, for sure. And then citations, definitely. We do citations for every site. And then Web 2.0s, very, very easy way. I mean, it's not natural anymore. Like, how would it be natural for you to rank, on page 1 for any local term and any local vertical and not have a Twitter link? Like,
yeah.
How's that possible?
Yeah, it's a huge trust signal. Oh, a lack of trust signal if you don't have it.
Exactly. So, social and Web 2.0s is definitely a big push. We do a lot of video still. Google's been weird the last couple of months with video. It seems like videos are showing less and less in Google search. But we've come up with some ways to kind of leverage it and make it a little more time worthy, I guess you would say. And then if we need it, then yeah, PBN links. But to be frank, I'll let the cat out of the bag. Like, we don't even build PBNs anymore.
Okay.
Like, we stopped.
You just don't need them.
Why? Like, in some cases we need them. Not in every case. And if we need them, I think that PBNs have become such a commodity these days. Personally, I believe that. Like, why can't you just go buy the links?
Okay, so like running the links rather than going through the hassle of having to systemize building them up all the time.
Yeah, I mean, at one time, man, we probably had 750, 800, domains in our PBNs, and I mean, dude, that was the biggest nightmare ever. Maintaining all of that. I mean, keeping track of renewals and making sure all the hosts are all up and the site's getting hacked and having backups for everything. And I mean,
that's
the
a
list
job
just
in itself. Yeah.
I mean, it's a job for a full team. So personally, in local, I don't really think that you need PBNs personally.
Okay.
In competitive niches, can PBNs get you the results faster? Yes. And easier. Yes, but personally, I'd rather just buy them than having to keep up with them and maintain them.
Gotcha, that makes sense. And I like that you have like the focus, like that your business is about like ranking sites, getting leads, and speaking to clients and bringing them in. So focus on that, and then like outsource, like just buy links.
Yeah, exactly. And a lot of them you don't even need them.
Okay.
You don't. I mean, it's local. I mean. If you look, I mean, it's so crazy. Like, if you look in some of the niches that we're in, and you look at like our competitors in Google, and you look at their backlinks, you're looking in. I use Majestic for local. I think it reports more data than anybody else. So that's the tool that I use for local, and I want as much data as possible. And a lot of the niches that we go after, you'll see like our competing site has 12 backlinks, like the number one ranked. So like, how many, do they have more than 12 links? Yes, they're not reporting everything. They haven't grabbed everything, but still, right? Like, can you build 12 links? Like, do you need a PBN to rank that? No.
Yeah.
But we do play in some more aggressive verticals as well. And to be frank, they don't make us that much money. We just play in them to play with Google and see what's happening and what will work and what kind of we're up against.
Okay, let me ask you then. I like your sort of how you approach trends. I like your thinking for this stuff. Do you prefer like a big major city for like a more competitive term, or do you prefer like just targeting like smaller, like less competitive cities, like easier to compete ones and targeting more, or like a bigger, more competitive term?
Yep. I'll give you an example. So we just picked up in a competitive niche in a very competitive city. So I won't say the niche, but I'll say the city. So we just picked up a big client in LA.
Okay.
So lead gen client, the retainer that we got up front is $25,000.
Nice.
Okay. Am I gonna go put all of my time and effort into ranking for Los Angeles in the main keyword phrases? No. Right. So I set the stage for that. The LA site was the first one that we built. We optimized the crap out of everything. We're running through our normal systems and processes, but I'm gonna let that one age, and it's just gonna sit on the shelf for the next 6 months. Right? So when I go to hit it later, it's going to react much better, right? But it's going to take a lot of time, effort, and money to rank that thing in LA. When the surrounding cities, I can start getting calls in, a week or 2 weeks.
Exactly. Yeah.
So I think it really depends upon competition. But yes, when it's super competitive, I will build the primary city site first, but then I'll go focus on the surrounding areas primarily.
And get some leads coming in first, then go back to it later.
Exactly. But I like to season it and get it up and going, and then I just kind of sit it on the shelf.
Okay. Here's a less business-oriented question, I guess, or pay-per-lead question. But you've been going for a while now. It sounds like things are doing pretty awesome. What sort of things motivate you to keep going and keep scaling everything from now?
Yeah, I mean, we've taken a big shift in our business over the last couple of years, and in the last year, another huge shift. I got into the affiliate side of things, into our blog and our software and stuff like that, and that has motivated me. Seeing customers get results, what I mean, is very different, as I'm sure you'll admit. Like running your own agency or pay per lead, whatever it is that you do for a while, like it gets tiresome, it gets kind of boring. You don't have the same thrill out of it as you had at one time. But then when you see your customers doing it, it reinvigorates you and it makes you want to do more of it.
Yeah, I'm completely with you.
So that has really inspired me overall to keep pushing. But the last year specifically, we've been going like really, really, really deep with our customers. So not just, the blog and, a couple of courses, but we do like a mastermind every quarter. And so like for a quarter, we take a group of people and I'm in there all day, every day talking with people. And to see that, transformation with those people over the course of a quarter, right, over 3 months is crazy. So that's honestly what invigorates me and keeps me going and re-energizes me more than anything.
Yeah, actually helping people for real and seeing the impact on them.
Yeah. I mean, seeing the impact is great. And I'm sure that you see impact all the time from the stuff that you guys do, all the awesome content that you put out. But the closer that you get, the bigger the impact becomes as well. And so I was always afraid. I was always afraid, and I'll admit this, I was always afraid to get too close because I thought it would be too much of a time suck.
Yeah.
Right? If I spend all my time talking with them, how do I talk to everybody on my list? And ultimately, it took me a long time to figure out, many years to figure out, that I'd rather go a lot deeper with them. And I get way more fulfillment out of that because I see massive transformation. And I see a lot more case studies and results than I did before. So awesome. It just pushes me harder.
Yeah, it's really, really cool. Okay, so with that obviously taking up a lot of time, but obviously being happy to do it, how do you stay focused all the time and be efficient with your time so you get stuff done still?
So I have a wife officially and 2 kids, and so I work basically like a 9 to 5.
Okay, wow.
But I have a couple of rules to that. I work basically a 9 to 5, but if I come into the office and I'm not being productive, we've all had those days, right? We all have those days, and I'm just not getting anywhere. I'm in a bad mood, or I'm just not motivated. I leave because I don't get anything done. Why would I dread through it and push myself and drive myself through insanity? Just leave. You're no good in that state anyway. So go leave, have some fun, and the next day you'll be uber productive, right? So I think that that's a big thing for people.
Yeah, that's cool.
And I think that the first point, me working like a 9 to 5, you were kind of like, what, really? I found even when I was working less, but I wasn't working 9 to 5, that I felt like I was always working because it wasn't structured. I had no work-life separation. Okay. And so I felt like I was always quote unquote working, even though I really wasn't, but it was just a mental thing for me. So now to put a start and a stop to it, even, I'll be at home laying in bed, watching TV with my wife and be looking at something, but it does really help to have that separation, I think. So if people are feeling anxious, you're always working, try to structure things a little bit different.
Yeah, I'm one of those always I'm 11 p.m. at night quickly responding to some emails and stuff, but I love it.
But you go through phases where you're man, this sucks. So if you're in that phase, try to structure it so as a 9 to 5 or 10 to 4 or whatever, and then try to give yourself a break. And even if you only do it for a month or a couple of weeks, you'll feel a lot better about things.
Yeah, I think that's good advice, especially for anyone that's really struggling with that stuff. It's interesting
Definitely.
having like the cutoff. Like a lot of people,
Yeah.
entrepreneurs especially, they don't have it.
Yeah. So, I mean, and it took me a long time before that ever happened to me. Just like you, I mean, going nonstop all the time, always working. But man, I want to say probably, 8 years basically of that. And finally I was like, all right, like this is getting a little old. I need to, I need to change something up a little bit.
Okay. What have you said before when you go into the office and you have those days where you just aren't getting stuff done? How often does that happen?
Yep.
When you just like let's screw it, let's go home.
Maybe once a month.
Okay. Just realistic. Yeah, that makes sense.
I mean, I think it's important that that you love what you do. I love what I do, but we all have our off days. And I think that if you make yourself push through it sometimes, or you do it too often, that you can start to not love what you do. And I think that's the scariest thing as an entrepreneur is waking up and realizing that you don't like what you do. And that's happened to me before. And I've had to restructure things and rebuild things. And so whenever I feel like that at all, or I'm just unproductive, I just, I go do something. So like the other day I was bored. I was being unproductive. I went and test drove a Z06. Like just why? Because I like cars. I like going fast. And so why not? Like
Yeah.
scared the crap out of the sales rep who's like trying to hang on. Like,
Nice. Yeah, why not?
but do something that invigorates you or something that you like, and the next day you'll be back to the races, so to speak.
Okay. Do you read?
Mm-hmm.
Do you wanna we can wrap it up with free book recommendations that
Oh man.
on the spot again?
Yeah. Predictable Revenue by Aaron Ross. Have you heard of that one?
I don't know it.
So Aaron Ross helped Salesforce.com build their sales process, and while he was there, added $100 million in revenue to their business.
Wow. Okay.
And so I just did an interview with Aaron with like all of my crew on our sales process and how we're running things. And if you're looking for help in building a sales process, definitely check that out. Awesome stuff.
Okay.
And it's cold email and the phone and everything else, but it's really, really good stuff. So if you're like, I need to get my sales game up a little bit, check that out for sure.
Okay. Interesting.
I think that it's cliche, but I think the E-Myth is very, very
That's
good.
an awesome book, yeah.
I mean, I think that it's super important to always know where you're at in the business and where you're going. And I think a lot of times as entrepreneurs, we just run with our head down, full sprint, and then we look up and we're like, where the heck did the last 6 months, year, month, whatever it is go? And I think the E-Myth helps you look at things from a top-down point of view and understand what's next and what you need to be working on so that you stay on the right path.
Yeah, for sure.
And then what's something more recent? Gary Keller, The One Thing.
Yeah, cool.
Have you read that one?
Yeah, it's nice and
Yeah.
snappy.
Yeah, good. So those would be 3 definitely for sure.
Okay. Awesome, man. Where can people find you if they want to read more about your stuff or get your cool tracking fin?
Digitaltriggers.io is our blog. Bunch of free content there, or the YouTube channel is the best place to check us out.
Okay, awesome. Thanks for coming on. I think you shared a heck of a lot of nuggets if someone's interested in pay-per-lead stuff.
Cool, man. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
All right, awesome. I hope you guys enjoyed this. This is a pretty awesome episode, and I'll see you guys next week.